with the wrong princess.
I like a girl in lace.
I'm the princess.
The recap begins in the highest room of a medieval stone tower. A princess lies in bed, dressed in fine clothes, surrounded by roses, and warmed by a furnace. At first, she looks peaceful, but when she stirs awake, she realizes her hands are shackled. A sharp ache pounds behind her head, her memory foggy and broken, unable to recall how she ended up here. Her vision swims, the room tilting until it slowly steadies. There are no guards in sight. Her legs are free, offering a small chance to move, though escape seems impossible. Beyond the window lies a violent sea, waves crashing against jagged rocks. The only other way out is a closed door, muffled voices pressing closer on the other side. As the footsteps grow louder, she dives back into bed, shutting her eyes and feigning sleep. Two guards enter, expecting nothing more than a helpless prisoner. One approaches despite his partner's warning. Too late, the princess strikes, smashing her forehead into his face with all the strength she can muster. Her scream covers the sickening crack of bone. What the guards don't realize is she has just broken her thumb enough to slip free of the shackle. Now unbound, she seizes the chain and swings it like a flail. Her restraint becomes a weapon, but she isn't finished. Hidden in her hair is a stiletto pin. She drives it straight into a guard's face, forcing him back until he collapses. The second guard lunges, but she refuses to cower. She rips the blade from the fallen man and attacks. The knife plunges into his calf, then his shoulder. He staggers but doesn't fall, rising with her still clinging to the hilt. He shakes violently, trying to throw her off, but she won't release. Wrapping the chain around her fist, she pounds his face with brutal, bone-crushing blows. She drives him toward the open window. He mocks her, thinking she intends to leap. But she has no intention of running. With a vicious kick, she sends him flying into the raging sea below. There's barely a breath before another guard charges in. She grabs a hammer and unleashes a furious assault, beating him down until he crumples. Seizing his keys, she unlocks her other wrist, cleans herself quickly, and leaves the room. She locks the door behind her and tosses the keys aside. From another tower chamber, she looks down at the chaos below. Guards are locking down the gates, keeping the crowd under control. At their mercy stand Julius and his ruthless enforcer, Moira. The royal family has fallen. The king pleads for peace, for diplomacy, but Julius has his own plans. He intends to marry the princess and rule the kingdom with an iron hand, correcting what he calls the king's weakness with power and dominance. As her family is dragged away, guilt crashes over her. With no male heir, her marriage to Julius had been arranged. She remembers her father walking her to the altar, reminding her of her duty, but she couldn't go through with it. She abandoned Julius at the altar, and that was when everything spiraled out of control. Soaked in silence, she hides as a massive figure enters the room. A giant. Unaware of her presence, he steps in to relieve himself. She slips into a water-filled tub, forcing herself still as bubbles rise from her lips. The giant, too distracted by his reflection in the mirror, never notices. Eventually he leaves. The princess bursts from the tub, gasping, drenched and weighed down by her dress. She strips off the heavy layers and continues on, but luck runs out. In the hallway, she collides with the giant again. This time he's armed with a massive sword, his thick skin like armor. The fight is brutal, strength against skill. She dodges his swings, using his power against him. Climbing onto his shoulders, she rips his helmet free, seizes one of its horns, and drives it into his back. Then, smashing his skull with the helmet, she knocks him out cold. The moment triggers a memory training as a young girl, dreaming of becoming a warrior. Her mother, Lynn, pregnant at the time, had wanted a son and disapproved of her daughter's desire. But Lynn convinced the queen to allow lessons, as long as the king never found out. Meanwhile, on the shore below, soldiers drag in the body of the guard she kicked from the window. Kerr, head of the guards, dismisses it as an accident, but Moira notices the bruises. Julius doesn't tolerate risk. He orders Kerr to check on the princess and warns him of the consequences. Once Julius leaves, Kerr shifts the danger to someone else, assigning the task to a weary guard better suited for standing watch than climbing towers. The princess, meanwhile, strips away more ruined dress to move freely. Two thieves burst into the room. She reacts instantly, stabbing the first with a broken post. The second lunges, but she pulls the lace from her corset and binds him to a pillar with swift, practiced motions. She finds a crossbow and aims it, demanding to know what Julius has done with her family. The thief mocks her, doubting she even knows how to use it. Behind her, the first thief stirs until she spins and fires. One clean shot drops him dead. The tied man remains defiant, but she silences him with another bolt. No answers, but she leaves with a sword. The tower crawls with guards scavenging for spoils. Moving carefully, she scales a ledge outside, clinging to the stone above the waves. The sword's weight threatens her balance, so she drops it into the sea, pulling herself back inside. She presses on. Slipping unseen through looters too distracted to notice her, she finds a bedchamber she knows well. She heads straight to a hidden spot and retrieves a blade, her old weapon. Memories resurface. Training in the forest with Lin, who had invited Kai, the king's advisor and her mentor. After proving her skill, Kai had gifted her the sword as proof she carried a warrior's heart. Now armed, she follows the sound of Julius's voice through a narrow passage. Through a crack, she sees him with Moira. They aren't just allies, they're lovers. Julius needs the marriage to claim legitimacy before the nobles. Once crowned, he plans to kill the king. The princess quietly carves a hole, preparing to strike Julius where he stands. Her blade hovers inches from his head. But a knock interrupts. A guard announces that the king wishes to speak. Julius leaves. At the same time, the weary guard finally reaches her room. Peeking through the keyhole, he sees what appears to be the princess asleep and a guard slumped in a chair. Relieved, he turns back down the long staircase to report. Elsewhere, Julius meets with the king. Calm and measured, the king pleads with him to reconsider, warning that tyranny will only turn the people against him. But Julius accuses him of betrayal, blaming the princess's defiance for everything. Above, the princess slips through a window into another section of the castle, landing at the feet of a massive armored soldier. She thinks little of him until his colossal blade pins her clothing to the floor. Their battle is fierce, steel clashing with sparks. Her strikes barely dent his armor, but she finds weakness beneath his arm. 3 quick stabs. Then she hurls a candle, flames erupting across his oil-slicked plates. He burns alive. Below, Julius fumes when the flaming corpse crashes before him. Furious, he orders Kerr to deal with the intruder. But before Kerr can act, Moira asserts herself. He mocks her, dismissing her as nothing more than a harlot. She doesn't argue, her whip lashes into his throat, silencing him in blood. Calmly, she assumes command, find the intruder, and kill her. The princess knows they're hunting her. Fear builds as she runs through the tower, slashing her way through enemies. Wounded, outnumbered, she buys herself time by scattering diamonds from her necklace, tripping her pursuers. Still, the fighting rages on. She shields herself, slays another guard, then dives through a window, clinging to a flag to swing into another chamber. Her wound bleeds badly. Memories return, overhearing her parents discuss her future, her father insisting the throne needed a man, dismissing her dreams of knighthood as childish. To him, marriage to Julius was protection. To her, it was a cage. The sound of footsteps jolts her back. She tackles the figure, entering only to see Lin beneath her. Relieved, they embrace. Lin treats her wounds, explaining she barely escaped Julius's soldiers. Together, they sneak into the kitchens, where guards torment a servant. Lin knocks one out with a frying pan. The princess rescues the servant. They fight through the rest until Moira herself appears, whip cracking, taunting the princess for not playing the helpless role expected of her. The fight is brutal. Moira's whip coils around the princess's throat, choking her. Lin intervenes, breaking the hold and creating a wall of fire. She forces the princess to flee, urging her to save the family. The The princess storms into a room of gambling gods, taking them all down with cups and fists before finding her family. She frees them, leading them toward escape, but Julius and Moira catch them. The princess, defiant even in chains, taunts Julius with promises to haunt him forever. Enraged, he threatens Violet, the younger sister. In a desperate gambit, the princess and Lynn create chaos. Lynn pulls Violet away, but the princess is overpowered and hurled through a high window into the river below. Unconscious, she drifts until Lynn's voice echoes in memory. The heart, not the blade, is a fighter's greatest weapon. With purpose renewed, she awakens, cuts her bindings, and swims back to shore. Back in the castle, Julius rushes a wedding. Guards sweep the halls, searching for the runaway bride. Soaked and bloodied, the princess sneaks in, determined to stop it. She reunites with Violet and Lynn, arming themselves from a secret storeroom. The grand hall fills with nobles. Julius drags Violet forward, forcing priests to begin the vows. Lynn storms in, sword flashing, shattering the moment. Moira breaks away, demanding a duel with the princess. Their fight is merciless. Moira cracks her whip with deadly precision, but the princess seizes it mid-swing, turning it against her. With one final strike, she strangles Moira with her own weapon, snapping her neck. Inside, Lynn battles Julius but suffers a grave wound. Julius crowns himself, declaring his reign. The princess confronts him. Their duel spills into the open, the kingdom watching. He boasts of ruling through fear, but she holds her ground, waiting, patient. Then, with one clean strike, she severs his head. His reign ends before it begins. She returns the crown to her father. At last, the king acknowledges her as the rightful heir. The hall erupts in celebration. Lynn, though wounded, survives. Relief and victory wash over the family. And somewhere, after all the chaos, the weary guard finally appears only now, finishing his long, slow climb down the tower stairs.